Hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm Bree, and today's video we're gonna do my 5-star predictions. I know it's way late in the year to do this, but it's just something that I've been really wanting to do because I think I've collected some books that I really am gonna love, and I think they're gonna be 5 stars. So I wanted to talk about them and why I think they're gonna be 5 stars, and also if based off of these, if you could give me some suggestions on books you think I would also love if I end up loving these, because I'm trying to find more recommendations in more specific types of books that I like, and I feel like as the year's gone on, I'm figuring out more and more what I like, so that's why now I'm comfortable with making this 5-star prediction video. I have 5 books and one I don't have. So I have a total of 6 books here to talk about that I think are going to be 5 stars for me. And so yeah, let's get into the video. Let's start talking about these books. So the first book on this list I don't own, but that is Middle Game by Shauna McGuire. I have read the Wayward Children series and really liked it, and like new favorite series of the year. And I think I'm gonna really like Middle Game. It seems like it's got tropes with like gods in it, twins, and just a really like cool different type of fantasy, which is something I'm looking for. And I love Shauna McGuire's writing. I think that she just does such a good job of world building, and she creates a certain atmosphere that's a little bit darker without being overly creepy. I've been meaning to pick up Middle Game for so long because every time I hear someone talk about it or read the synopsis, I'm just like, that seems like something I'm gonna love, and for some reason I just have put it off. So I really feel like I'm gonna end up reading it and just loving it. So I believe this is about 2 twins, Roger and Dodger, and I think that they are both really skilled. I believe there's some like alchemy in here and types of magic, and I think that they're trying to ascend into godhood, and I think it's just about their journey, and I'm not too sure about much more than that because that's kind of where I wanted to keep it, but it just sounds so good. And again, every time I've heard someone talk about it, I've just heard great things, so I really think I'm gonna love this. So the next one I think is going to be 5 stars is The Year of the Witching by Alexis Henderson, and I've put this off just because I really want to read this during spooky season because I feel like it's going to be this perfect like spooky book, and I just feel like this is one of those books that is going to be very atmospheric, and I like witch stories, especially something like a haunting witch story. I think I'm going to really love. And this is about Emmanuel, and her mother had it says a union with a person of another race. She's been like cast from society because of that. And Emmanuel is like very involved in the church and believes like the church's word is law. And one day she goes into the forest where these 4 witches were killed, and I believe she gets her mother's journal, who is now passed, and she starts to question things about her mom, but also starts to realize that the church has more secrets than she really knew about. And I think it's about her and the church and witches, and it just sounds so good. And it said it's in the lands of Bethel, so it's a fantasy, and this is in a made-up land of Bethel, and it is like a fantasy world. And I've heard that this is kind of like been shelved as horror, but that it reads kind of more fantasy, but just like with this overall eeriness to it. So I'm really excited to get to it because I think that's the perfect vibe for me, where it's not too extreme horror, but then it's a little darker than some fantasies. And I just think this is going to be like the perfect kind of fantasy for me. So I'm really excited to get to this, and I definitely will be getting to it this fall. It is going to be read, and I'm so excited to read it. The next one I think is a good prediction of a 5-star read because I read this author's previous book and loved it, gave it 5 stars. And so this one is The Devil in the Dark Water by Stuart Turton. I believe this actually came out before 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle, so I hope it's still a 5-star. But I've heard that this is just like very genre bending, is that the word? It doesn't really fit into a certain genre. So it's like kind of mystery, kind of horror, kind of historical fiction, kind of just like literary. But this, I'll just read the little synopsis. It says, a murder on the high seas, a detective duo, a demon who may or may not exist. So it's supposed to be set in 1634, and I believe this detective is on board the ship when he is like taken prisoner, and yeah, and he's going to be executed for a crime he may or may not have committed. But then I believe something starts happening on the ship, that it could be like the devil, people are dying, and it's like now a haunted ship type story. And then there's also his bodyguard and a woman on board who both like have to try to solve this mystery. And I've heard that the mystery is only like a small part of the story, that this has much more going on in it. So that's why I'm interested in it. And I really just feel like I'm gonna love this. I like see things, for one. I loved Stuart Turton's like writing and just imaginative storytelling. And like a demon at sea, and then this overall mystery, and just combining all those like horror, mystery, thriller elements, I just feel like it's gonna make this a really good story for me. And I haven't heard like many people's opinions on it. I know I've only heard like maybe Meg from Meg with Books, her review on it, but I don't really feel like I've heard many other people's reviews on it because I know this has been out for a while. So I don't really know like what to think from a review standpoint, but I just really did love the 7.5 Deaths of Edwin Hardcastle. So I really feel like this is going to be a 5-star for me. So the next book is one that I think is going to combine a lot of fantasy and mystery elements that I really love, and that is The Conductors by Nicole Glover. I know this is so far a duology. I don't know if that's like the end of it or if she's going to come out with more. This is basically following Hetty and Benji. It's like just post the Civil War. And so they're in Philadelphia, and they used to help people in the Underground Railroad, but because slaves are now free, they don't have to do that anymore, but they are in Philadelphia and there's a lot of murders that are taking place, and they're the only ones who can kind of help the community solve it. And they also have some magic that it says draws its powers from the constellations. So I find that like magic element really intriguing, and I'm really interested to see how it's used. It looks like maybe like light will be involved a lot, and I just think that's so cool. I really like fantasy mystery and having like the magical elements with a mystery. I just feel like sometimes fantasy is too fantasy. Like I don't tend to like higher fantasy, and then sometimes mystery is just a little too slow for me. So I found that like mystery with a little bit of like fantasy elements or set in a fantasy world, I really can get on board with. And I loved The Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter that I read this year, and for some reason I feel like this reminds me of it, even though the premises are really different. And so I just feel like I'm gonna love it. Ever since I've seen it, I just know that it's one that I'm gonna love, and I think I'm gonna give it 5 stars. I hope I give both 5 stars, and I hope that it's more than a duology if I love it. So yeah, I'm really excited to get to this. All of these I hope to get to really soon, but this one especially. The next one is one that I really, really hope I love, but I haven't had too much success with thrillers, so I feel like it's a little risky, but at the same time, everyone I've seen has really given it good reviews, so I am hopeful, and that's why it's on my 5-star prediction, and that's Confessions by Kane Minato. And I really feel like this one, if there's a thriller out there I'm going to love, it's going to be this one, because I've not heard anything but good reviews. So this is following a professor who teaches in like middle school, and her daughter had died at the school, and then she's giving one last lecture to her students, and so she starts to enact revenge, I think, while giving her last lecture, or she tells them about how she's gotten revenge. And I don't know if it's on the students or others, but I think it's gonna like reveal a lot about the school and secrets it's been hiding. And it just sounds like it's gonna be so fast and twisty. Everyone I've said is like, you think a twist happens and then like 5 more happen, and it just gets crazier and crazier, but like in a really great way. So I'm really excited to read this. I think it's also a translation from Japanese, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I think it is a translation from Japanese. I'm trying to read more translated work, so I think that this would be a really good option. And I've heard only good things, and from what I've heard, I just feel like I can't not love this. Like, I think it's going to be 5-star for sure. Last one, and I feel like this one is one that I really want it to be 5 stars, but also I feel like it has the highest chance of being a 5-star out of all the stack. And that is The Broken Girls by Simone St. James. I have given The Book of Cold Cases 5 stars, and I've given The Sundown Motel 5 stars. I read her backlist, which was more historical fiction, and I gave it 4 stars, but this is part of her newer releases, and if it's anything like those two, I think I'm going to love it. And people who didn't like the other two as much have given this 5 stars. I feel like it's a safe bet that I'm going to give this 5 stars. So this is kind of like very true to Simone St. James fashion. This is following dual timeline, dual perspective, and one of them is in 2014 in Vermont. They're both in Vermont. And this journalist, her older sister was murdered, and her boyfriend was convicted of murder, and I believe she was murdered on these like school grounds. And then it flashes back to the 1950s. Yeah, 1950s, to this place for girls. And it's basically where like girls who no one wants or were like troublemakers or things like that are sent. And there's a lot of bad things, I'm assuming, going down at this school. And I think girls are dying. And I think those two timelines are going to connect. And if it's like Simone St. James, there's going to be a paranormal element to it. And I'm here for it. It's just like, I don't even, I really feel like at this point I don't even need to know synopsises of Simone St. James's books. I'm going to pick them up and I'm probably going to love them. So if this gets 5 stars, I feel like I have to put Simone St. James as like a favorite author, because that would be 3 5-stars and a 4-star. So, I mean, that has to qualify. And yeah, so I feel like if there's any book that I'm going to get 5 stars out of this list, it's this one. All right, so this is probably a short video, but these are the five plus one more that you don't see books that I think I'm going to give 5 stars to. And really, I feel like I'm right. I hope I'm right. And I didn't realize till now that they're all black. And I know Middle Game is a like darker black book. They're all like kind of in that same color scheme. I did not do that on purpose, I promise. So yeah, I hope I love these all these. And if you have any book recommendations, like I said, that seem to go with these, I would love to hear them so I can pick up more things like this, because even if they're not 5 stars, I feel like they all have elements of things I really enjoy in books and want to read more in books that I just haven't picked up until recently. So that's it. If you want to like and subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. And leave a comment at the end of the video. And I will see you next time.